Hi, and welcome to the Near the Cross podcast. My name is Olivia Post, and this is a place where my friends and I seek Jesus in scripture, in theology, and in each other. Like the women who stayed near Christ in his final hours, we have seen Jesus for who he is, given him our hearts, and recognized that there's no one else to whom we can go. Come on in. Let's see what he might have for us today. Welcome to our season finale. An episode devoted to love. In this episode, we are going to talk about receiving and sharing the love of God. This month's discussion is going to continue some of what we've discussed about our identity and also what we began in March when we talked about the limits of love. Since this is our last episode and we wanted to spend part of our podcast season talking about how we live out the ethical teachings of our faith, we went big. Living a life of love, less than an hour, we got this. I'm very happy to have Miss Becky back with us to help us finish what she helped us begin. Hey, Miss Becky.
Hey, thank you for inviting me back.
I like for you to come. I'm glad you said yes to coming back. And I'm also really excited to have my dear friend Mandy Horn here too. Hey, Mandy.
Hey.
She was an easy pick for an episode about love. Miss Becky wanted her to come too. I'm sure many of you have been blessed by her calm, loving presence. I deeply trust Mandy as she listens to the Lord, which has made her super helpful as one of my dearest friends, but has also led her into a powerful life of prayer for others. In a true to Mandy, introspective and vulnerable way, she told me earlier this week that reflecting on our topic had led her to think she's probably not loving anyone at all. But I will stand as a witness to at least the 18 years I've known her as a loving presence for the Lord in the world. I'm glad she's going to be talking about this with us today. Okay, let's get into our topic. You were created by a God of love. Our God, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, has existed forever, before time even began, in perfect love and joy. God didn't need to make you, but he wanted to. The Father created you so that he could love you, and he wants to love you so well that you have enough love to share with others. He's actually placed specific other people in your life so that you can give them the love that he is happy to give to you. If they don't know him, then your love helps them know who he is. And if they do, your love helps them know him better. And this hurting world can be helped and healed up by the limitless love of God that he, through Jesus Christ, has poured out into your heart by his Spirit that he has given to you. We've spent a few months on loving the Lord our God with all our heart, soul, mind, and strength. We have new rhythms. We're trying to honor our limits and our season so that we can seek him in the moment we find ourselves in. Since we've mastered that, right?
Got it.
But let's say we want to continue in the teachings of Jesus. How do we live out the second commandment? You shall love your neighbor as yourself. How would we begin to do that? Okay, so because we have been made by God, we always begin by receiving. We receive before we have anything to give. Only God can give without receiving because only he has life in himself. But we don't because we were made. And like we've said before, a lot of times we're dependent creatures. Anything that we have to give, we have received from God. So I want to share an image with you guys that Dr. Martin, this professor that I have loved, shared in a class. He said that our lives should be like a high mountain lake. So we can't show a picture to anyone, but like a beautiful lake that's up high in the mountain. And this lake is fed by small streams that are running into it. It could be underground streams or just lovely streams. And this lake is full from these streams. And he said that often these lakes will have one large stream that flows out of them. And these lakes, the level stays largely the same. and then one large stream flows out of it. And so he said that that is what our lives in the Lord should be like, that our lives are fed by the streams of mercy that the Lord has running into them, and that our calling often, or our life of love, is the stream that flows out of that, from the overflow of the love that God has poured out into our hearts. Dallas Willard talks about this in a different way. He says that we live as we receive the abundance of the kingdom as the basis for our life. So kind of a different image, but he says that we can afford to be compassionate and loving towards others because we know that there are others with the resources to be compassionate and loving towards us. This is primarily God. We're compassionate because someone is taking care of us. We must receive this care for ourselves before we're able to care for anybody else. We have to live in a way that allows us to receive what we need from the Lord before we give that out. I don't know that we recognize it often, but we see Jesus loving this way, receiving love from his Father and then offering it to others. In John 15, he says, "As the Father has loved me, so I have loved you. Abide in my love." I was struck when I was thinking about that if Jesus received love from the Father before he gave it, I haven't dwelled a lot on thinking that I receive love before I give it out. So what we're going to think about for a minute is, how do we abide in Jesus' love? How do we allow his streams of loving mercy to fill our beautiful mountain lakes? We could think of this last week. What circumstances that we had did the Lord bring into our life that communicated his love to our heart? So these are things, Dr. Martin called them streams of mercy. So ways that we felt revived or blessed, restored, or what ways did you feel cared for and nurtured by the Lord? What things regularly, so these aren't ways that you are necessarily like seeking the Lord, but these are ways like streams of mercy that just as they flow into your life, they fill up your lake. So he mentions like reading or walking, could be watching a movie or a show, playing with grandkids for some of us, our children, spending time in quiet. Could be something like solitude, that could be seeking, or just time in solitude can fill our lake with the love from the Lord. Dr. Siemens, in his book, Ministry in the Image of God, says, "There is no substitute for time alone with God. When we attune ourselves to God's voice, he gets to remind us again of how beloved we are." But I included that because it doesn't have to be a quiet time. It could just be that any time where you're in solitude, that is a stream of mercy for you, and that attunes yourself to God's voice. So, my friends, Miss Becky and Mandy, what streams of mercy regularly fill your lake? Miss Becky, what streams of mercy do you just keep your lake full?
Well, before I say that,
say whatever you want.
Yes. Oh, thank you. I just want to say I love the image of the lake, and I'm so glad that you use that and the streams. I'm a very visual person, and so for that to be in my mind now, I can just visualize God's love or his mercies flowing in from all different avenues and filling my heart or my spirit up. And so I think, if I understood the question right, that my spirit is renewed a lot by worshiping God. However that is, just full out worship. And so that's a way he fills me up. I'm filled with his love when I allow myself to truly experience nature, and especially right now with the springtime. And y'all, I can go out to my flowers and I'm just like, oh, look, a few little leaves are coming up from the lantana. And look over here, that lily, the Easter lilies I planted last year, they're coming up. And isn't God, you're so good. It's just life is coming up. And so, I feel his love flowing into me big time through that, because I think of new life. He reminds me of that. And then faithful friends are a way that he that's another stream that's just, I thought of these streams and these faithful friends and church community and family. I feel cared for, nurtured, and so a lot of times restored with all these things. So,
What about you?
Okay, so streams for me usually is time alone, because I'm usually with people who are talking a lot and needing a lot of things, especially Sunday afternoon naps. It's time when I have routinely felt like I met the Lord and felt love and care for Him. If I don't get my Sunday afternoon nap, the week may not go very well. Time outside in nature is really important to me. Sunshine, especially wind. And then colors. I really like colorful things. In Kentucky, especially when winters were pretty gray or white, coloring in a coloring book was helpful to me. Just seeing the different colors. It's like my eyes, I could feel them absorbing the color sometimes, and I just love that. So.
I don't even know that about you.
it's always good to find out something new about your friend.
Bring friends and ask them questions. Okay, so the next question is, do you struggle to keep the water level, period? Do you struggle to keep it at the same level? Do you pour out more than you take in? So you can answer that. And then when you recognize that you are low, do you have any actions you take to seek the Lord's refilling? So we talked about streams. These are just things that you're like, oh, these all fill in, they refill my lake. But are you good at keeping your water level nice? And then if you realize you're depleted, is there something you're like, ooh, that's my go-to, and that will help? Like, oh, do you just color and that fixes it? Or is there something like more dramatic that you do? Or do you just kind of like plug back into these streams you've already recognized? Or how do you do with your water level and seeking refilling?
I think it's important to be aware of the way the beautiful streams of God's love can be clogged up. So what are some ways that can happen, and that my spirit can't receive what He has to give?
Yes.
He's giving, He's putting that out there, but selfishness, bitterness, resentment, a lot of things, jealousy. I think maybe you even mentioned one when we were talking. I can't think of. There's so many things that we can allow. When I say the enemy never gives up, I mean it.
I think that's a beautiful point, because there may be mercy that's coming towards you, but if you're in a bad place through your own, like, you're
sin.
Your sin, and you're dwelling on bad things. Mm-hmm. The Lord may be coming to you with beautiful things, but you can't see them. I know that personally. When I'm in a jealous place, or I'm in a frustrated place, or I'm mulling over on things that are not lovely, it doesn't matter how many beautiful, merciful things He puts in my path. So I think that's a really good point.
What about the people that, this may not be the place to put this in there, you can say that. The people that are so broken, they can't receive any love, or they don't think, does God just pour it in anyway and that's how He changes their life? Or is there got to be a lot of work done? What do you think on that? There's a lot of work has to be done first before we can even get to the point?
I would say possibly, but not always.
Okay.
I think sometimes the Lord just comes for people with a whole lot of love, and that love may bring them healing.
Okay.
But sometimes, and then they still may need to do work. But sometimes people have to maybe take a step and do some work before they
can pour out love.
Yeah, receive it.
They have to be able to
receive it. What would you say, Mandy, if someone feels like, I just can't receive it. I want to receive the love of God, but I just feel like I cannot receive those streams of mercy. And you're saying He may just still bless you with it,
yes.
But you may have to take some steps. What would you recommend? What are you meaning by steps?
I first would say, ask Him. Lord, I want to feel your love. What can I do? What's one thing I can do to feel your love? You may have to ask trusted friends or advisors. I want to feel the Lord's love. I'm not feeling it. Do you have some wisdom from the Lord or something? Those would be two places I would start.
Mandy and I have both benefited from healing prayer, so that's a place where we've both been ministered to that. We've both had a lot of counseling, so what I think is, I think almost any way that you step out and say, Lord, I would like more of you. I need more help. I want more of your love. I think you take a step and he meets you in those places. I think probably the place you step out, you're going to be like, that will help you because he'll probably find you there.
I think people that have struggled with abuse of any kind, or the just brokenness of home life and a lot of drugs and all this kind of stuff, feel guilt and shame so deeply that it's hard for them to recognize God's love. And then, oh my, it's sure hard to pour out love.
I think that's why to think about the streams that feed into you as streams of mercy that feel restoring, or the questions that I was asking, how did you feel revived or blessed? I think sometimes when we use words like, how do you feel the love of God? People can be like, I can't feel the love of God. But you could probably think of some ways that you feel revived or restored.
I like the way you
blessed.
put that.
And those are Dr. Martin's words. But I think you can know, when am I feeling full, and mercy's coming into my lives in these ways. And you just may not have the eyes to realize that is the Lord loving you. You know, the Lord can meet you and try to bless you and love you through ways that you just may not have put the language together, that is the love of God for you, through friends, through nature, through a nap, and that the Lord is loving you that way. It just may be religiously that you don't recognize it.
One thing I want to say at the end for this question about the lake, my spirit getting empty or pouring out so much, is that I had to learn a long time ago, and God taught me that I can't be all things for all people, because I was just like going around like a crazy woman trying to just do everything for everybody and love on everybody, and that doesn't work.
I think the part of this that resonates with me the most is, when do I recognize that I am low, when my water level is low, and do I have any actions that I take to seek the Lord's refilling? It's different at different seasons in my life, but for the most part, it's usually I feel very short with people, and I feel very impatient, especially with the people that are closest to me. And I feel like no one is helping me, and I am doing everything. And it's usually not because they have chosen it to be that way. And so that's the way that I know that my water level is low. I think the Lord taught me a long time ago that I need to assess pretty regularly where my water level is. For a while, I had a practice of any gathering I was going to go to, I took a second and checked in with myself and said, what am I trying to get from the people at this gathering I'm going to? And if it's love, if it's nurturing, if it's something, could you fill me up with that first, Lord, so that I'm not going in a real needy, broken way? And that was helpful to me.
It's very wise. Because how many times do we go somewhere and we need a lot of people to do things for us? And I bet they don't often do it.
No.
Oh,
Or
that's
do we
beautiful.
go asking, okay, God, now who's going to be here that I need to minister to and I need to show a lot of love to? And that may not be the point of it at all.
True.
That may be also trying to fill something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you asked him that, Mandy, did he often do that for you?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I often came back from gatherings feeling less empty than I had before. Because what I noticed when I came back from gatherings before was I was spent, I was exhausted. I usually didn't feel like in a better place than when I left. And after that, I almost always felt okay, at least, not more spent. And usually I felt refreshed.
It's a very important thing that's going to be the nugget of the podcast.
We should ask him for some things sometimes.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, let's move on to a second point. So we have to receive from him before we pour out. And our second point that we want to make is that no one else can give the love that God has poured into our hearts to the specific people he has intended us to love. We have a unique love that God has given to us for specific people. And no one's going to get that specific love from us to them unless we do it. So I'm going to read you a quote from Thomas Merton that I thought was lovely. And I'm going to read it to my friends here. And if they need me to explain it, I'm going to watch their faces. And we're going to see if it resonates with them. Okay? When the love of God is in me, God is able to love you through me, and you are able to love God through me. If my soul were closed to that love, God's love for you and your love for God would be denied that particular expression which it finds through me and through no other. Because God's love is in me, it can come to you from a different and special direction that would be closed if he did not live in me. And because his love is in you, it can come to me from a quarter which it would not otherwise come. And because it is in both of us, God has greater glory.
Did you get that, Maritza? You don't have a microphone, but it went way over.
Okay.
Yes.
I'll just say a little bit of it.
Yes.
Again. That's
Talk
fine.
through that.
I don't mind.
Yeah.
I had a class this week, and that was a beautiful part of a book I read, and it's all right if it doesn't resonate with everybody else.
Well, you sent
I'll
it to
just
us
say it again.
early, and
Yeah,
so
that's
I
fine.
got to sit with it for a long
Yeah.
time today, but I had to sit with it for a while.
That's fine.
Yeah.
So, let me just read the part that I think is especially lovely. Anyone who got it the first time can just love it. But okay, so because God's love is in me, it can come to you from a different and special direction that would be closed if he didn't live in me. So, because God's love is in me, it can come to you, Miss Becky, through a special direction that it could never come to you
Because
from
it's
this
coming
place.
from you.
Because
Through
it's
you.
in me. And because God's love is in you, it could never get to me from here if it weren't in you. So if it was shut down, if you shut down God's love coming to me, then I would never receive God's love. Think of all the times you loved me in my life, and I would never have received God's love if it hadn't been in
that
you,
way.
in that way,
Yeah.
in the way that you give God's love. You know, all the times me and you, Miss Mandy, in our life. Like, so I just thought that was a beautiful way of thinking about the uniqueness of each of us and the unique way we share God's love and all those opportunities that would have been missed had we not shared the love of God in a special way.
And like you told me about William, no one is going to love William like you.
Yes.
Well,
very true.
love him well,
Yeah.
like you do.
Yeah.
That's special with all you moms.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a mom too.
True.
I'm just grown.
So true. In Ephesians 2, verse 8 through 10, it says this in a different way. But for by grace you have been saved through faith, and this is not your own doing, it's the gift of God, not the result of works, so that no one may boast. For we are what he has made us. We receive that from the Lord. Created in Christ Jesus for good works, which God prepared beforehand, so that we may walk in them. So we receive it, but he's also prepared special things specifically for us to do. I thought that was striking, that there are some things God prepared before, especially for us to do. Yes. Okay, let's move on to the third point. Once we have received love from God and we understand the unique responsibility we have to share that love. Okay, so the love that God has given to Mandy pours out into her heart. It's a special love that Mandy has, a special expression, and no one will ever get the love from God that is like you will share. And the people that you will share it with, if you don't share it with them, no one's going to get the love like that. that you have from God to share with them. And God has already prepared that you have those works to do. Okay, so once we understand all of that, then we have to make judgments about this super special love that we now have flowing out of our lakes. What are we going to do? Who are we going to share this love with in our days? Because we are limited creatures with limited resources. Okay, so we are loving our neighbors out as ourselves. Who are these neighbors that we are going to love? That's what we're going to talk about now. Dallas Willard defines our neighbors as those we are intimately engaged with in life. He says we are to invest in a few key relationships with openness, intentionality, and planning. Love can only be specific, and love cannot exceed our resources. I think that's very interesting. We can't just love the whole world. We have to love specific people, and we cannot love more than the resources that we have. This may lead us to make hard decisions. These decisions will not make everyone happy. Love does what is good for people and ourselves. That doesn't always mean doing what everyone wants. Okay, before we get more specific with our who is our neighbor exercise, I wonder how each of you think you have stewarded your love overflow resources from God. Okay, so assuming you have a full lake and your love is special and God has a plan for you to use it to certain people, do you feel like you have been on the lazy side of love giving? Like you haven't recognized that opportunity and that responsibility, and you've just kind of kept your lake full, kind of for yourself and for different reasons. I think sometimes maybe we haven't realized that we have a unique love to give others, or we thought, oh, other people are doing that and my love isn't that special to give. Or have you been on the spread your love too thin side? You poured it out and you become depleted, and maybe you didn't realize God's made a lot of people to love people, and I don't have to be the one to do all of it. So have you been on the keeping too much or giving too much side of your love resources?
I think I've been on both sides of it. I think sometimes I can fall into the lazy side of it by becoming comfortable in the comfort of the love and feeling at peace in the love that I feel, and maybe not wanting to risk disrupting that peace. So there are times when I could definitely feel happy with my full lake and maybe have a temptation at least to want to stay in that full lake.
What would it mean to be disrupting your peace? What do you mean by that?
Maybe feeling depleted. I don't like that feeling of feeling spread too thin and feeling depleted and feeling tired. Feeling tired sometimes is a trigger for me to think, oh, I'm going into a depression. I don't want to be depressed. And so that can be a spiral for me.
Mm-hmm. So if you thought, oh, if I love these, I might could do more, or not, I don't like do more, but like the Lord might want me to love this person. But if I spent myself too much in that way, maybe like that might be too much for me, and I don't want to get
possibly.
too tired, maybe.
I think sometimes I can feel a little bit tempted to not see the uniqueness of my love. I think that's a really beautiful thing to think about, your love being unique, and I don't think I see that in myself sometimes. I think somebody else can do it. Somebody else could do it better. So that's a really beautiful thought to think of it that way.
I mean, I wasn't trying to write you out, but I think it did come out. I was thinking someone could feel this way.
Yes, that's true.
You said you also feel like sometimes you do spread yourself too thin.
Oh, probably, but that's probably more with my family.
By your most immediate group.
Yes.
At home.
Yes. Small family unit at home. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What do you think, Miss Becky?
I think that I've experienced both too. Confession time would be right now for me that God has filled my lake and I'm just downright selfish with my time. Or I think, you know what? These streams have come in and love is supposed to flow out for these friends right here, that he has given me these beautiful friends, but they haven't contacted me in a long time, or they haven't been a good friend to me. And so I'm gonna go share my love with my grandkids. Now that, what a stream has flowed in for me at that point. Yes, I'm always doing that, but so I was thinking of that, selfishness. And I think it was Dallas Willard, didn't he say humility is the key to love? That really struck me. And he had his class that he was giving that lecture to, they had to read that book, Humility by Andrew Murray. That was part of the classwork. So I thought that was really good. But so I'm not selfless sometimes. But then on the other hand, when the kids were little, that my lake was so empty, I was doing for everybody. I was going to every Bible study with Terry. I was going to church. We counted up one summer, we went 90-something times. 90-something times in one summer to church, because he was holding gospel meeting after gospel meeting. And I drugged those kids, and they sat on that bench, and they had to be quiet. And I'm thinking now, God gave me those children to love, and that's just what, no one else was going to love them in that way. But what's beautiful is, it's what I think, look how they turned out. But God works, and maybe my lake was just too empty, but they felt God's love anyway, somehow. But not from me in the ways I should have done that. And so that's just something to think about. So what do you think about this, Olivia? I'd love to, I think everyone would love to hear what you have to say about it.
Okay. Well, I am a spread myself too thin kind of person. As I was reflecting on it, I think that it comes partly from my family brokenness, but I've also recognized that it comes from my pride too. Like my family stories, that I was keeping it all together and making everybody okay. And so if you put me in a group, I'm gonna love to bring everybody together and make everybody okay. But that also means that it feels really good to me to be in the center of things, and it feels good to me to be connected with everyone. It also, I also have struggled with a lot of fear, especially in the group Manny and I used to be a part of. I want everything to be okay. I want everybody to be okay. So I just had a tendency to spread myself very thin with that, because I also just wanted to belong.
Mandy's nodding her head in agreement.
So, yes,
Lovingly.
y'all didn't see me do these things. But so what starts out as wanting to love everybody, in my case, I bet you would say I did that.
You did that really well.
Yeah, that maybe I could do it pretty well. But then at some point I was completely depleted. So you could love everyone, but then if you're spread too thin, I didn't keep the circle thing we're going to talk about, but I didn't keep any space for relationships that I needed that were real close. There are things about my kids' little lives that I hardly remember. I hope that I was very present to them. But these are my repentant 40s. That's what these are. So I also think that I think there's a lot of pride in that. I think what I realized too is there's so much to let God be God, to know that He can take care of all the things. I think there's pride in, I also was thinking I was good at that. It's not like that's a conscious thing, but you just look back and you think, I also thought that I needed to be, it was just meeting my needs too.
That's a good point.
Yeah. I don't need to be, this is what I wrote in my notes.
Okay.
I don't need to be the love center of the world. I could let the Lord love me, and He can love everyone through all the beautiful people that He loves. Maybe if you take up too much space, other people don't get to take up the space they need to take up. And then in the meantime, then you don't get to enjoy him or enjoy the other people that he has given you to love. So anyway, so I can spread myself too thin, but I do feel the draw of it. I feel my limits, and I want to get out and love more people. But it's a hard thing to discern. When is that from a place where the Lord is leading you, and when is that just because for whatever reason, good or bad or broken or sinful, that feels really, really good to me to do. So we are going to talk about an exercise that we are going to begin, and we're going to share a little bit about ours, but it's something that we want you guys to complete on your own and then bring it with you for our gatherings, and we'll discuss them there. This is an exercise that will help us with our judgments about loving. For us to love well, we are going to have to make some decisions, not only to keep our lakes full, like we're saying, so that we don't pour out more than we receive, but also because we want to be wise about the specific neighbors that the Lord has given us to love. Let me talk a little bit about this, and then we'll talk about why it matters. Okay, so some of you may have done an exercise like this before, but Dallas Wood recommends this practice because he says that loving your neighbor as yourself begins by starting small, not big. Okay, so you begin with an inner circle. You can make this a list if you're a list person, or a circle if you like that better. So in this inner circle, we want you to list the few people you are most intimately engaged with in life. This should be a pretty small number unless you live in a large family. For me, that would be my family, and we include Smitty and Sarah in our families. But for me, that's a decently large number. You know, do the math. I don't know. 8. Thank you. Including myself, that's 8?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm loving me. Altogether, that's 8. But that would be different depending on how many people are in your family. That would be an inner circle. And then the next circle you're going to make is a list of your close, intimate friends. This should probably not contain more than 8 or 10 names. These are the people that you are doing a lot of life with, people that you're going to be spending a lot of your neighborly loving energy on. And then the outer one, your third circle, might include coworkers, next door neighbors, church members, your extended family, and so on. For us, we have done a lot of discussion about this that you will not have to listen to on this podcast, but we've included grow groups, you know, the people at church especially. We cannot include an entire church in our circle, but the people especially that you are close to in our church family. And the reason that we are doing this, as we look at our circles, Dallas instructs us to begin as best we can with the first list of those in our inner circles and devote serious attention, thought, prayer, and service specifically to those few people until our ability to demonstrate love for them becomes a grace-sustained habit. We work our way out from the inner circles, not living in the outer circles first. This exercise, you might get tripped up thinking, oh, where does so-and-so go? And does this mean I'm closer to so-and-so to so-and-so? It could get really complicated. And that is not the point of this. The point that Dallas is trying to make is to put a concrete look at these people God has given me to love. And I think for many people, they may be giving a lot of attention and some of their love to people that are on their outside circles, while the people who are actually their most intimate inner circle would not call them a loving person. That is what he's trying to say.
Yes.
If the people in your inner circle do not believe themselves to be loved well by you, then you are not loving your neighbor as yourself. Your neighbor is not outside of your home. Your neighbor is inside of your home. So he says, start from the inside out and prayerfully love those few people who are on your inner circle. That may not be everybody. It may not be everyone who's listening. Everybody may be totally rocking their inner circles, and that's what we would love to be true. But the first thing we do is look at your inner circle, and he says, prayerfully begin to love that circle well. So that may be all the wake-up call that you need. You may write those names down and be like, well, that's a lot of work for me to do. And may the Lord bless you, because that often feels like enough work for me.
God, please fill a lot of streams. I need a lot of
My lake needs
streams
to be
filling my
super
lake.
full.
Yes.
So that's where you begin, is to look at your circles to see who are your neighbors. But we have also been reflecting on some of ours, because what it can also do is help you to see who God may have given you to love, that just in the way life goes and you run into people, and maybe that you are not making a careful judgment and leaving some people out of your loving attention that the Lord may have given you to share important love with. That is part of why we would do this circle exercise. In the interest of time, I would just like you each to share just quickly, in just a little bit of looking at your circles, how has the Lord shown you to focus your love? You know, what kind of judgment do you need to be more careful about, just so that people would know kind of the fruit of what this exercise might do for them. Okay, just something that you're thinking.
Well, so I've thought a lot about this today, and I talked to you a lot about it. And as we've been discussing, and my first response was that my children, their spouses, and all my grandchildren go in that inner circle. And that's a lot to be in that, but I feel like that's who God has given me to really love well. Okay, so here's what I think has happened is Terry may get put on the back burner because I'm loving them all so well. And, you know, spending time with the girls, teaching them to sew, taking Lincoln to the park, doing things with Kinsey and Kendall, and then it's like, oh yeah, you can have some leftover love here, Terry. And so when it says, list the few people you are most intimately engaged with in life, well, I have to choose him, right?
He's going to be so glad I've asked you to do this circle.
But no, I think he gets the raw end of the deal, as I've thought about it today. So maybe he should be he's going to love this. He should be the only one in that inner circle. Maybe, just maybe. I'm just thinking it through. That's what it's kind of made me think of. This middle circle, is this who God is telling me, or is it my choosing again? Like, is it who I choose to love, or is it who God is giving me and pouring love in me to love these people? And maybe it's love just for a little while. Like I was visiting with y'all first before we started this about it's CR. There are seasons I go through a step study for 9 months with somebody, a group of women. And if I'm sponsoring someone, that's even a deeper relationship. And I do love these women, and I start loving them deeply because I know what all they've gone through in their life. And God just gifts me with that, to be able to really love and care for them. But that may change, because I can't possibly keep that level of love going when the next wave comes through.
I thought, as I did that I am drawn to whatever circle feels the most relationally safe to me at the time, because I would like to avoid the conflict with people, no matter which circle they're in, inner, middle, or outer. And so I'm tempted to say in whatever circle feels the most peaceful and easy at the time, instead of thinking about who are my closest people, who are the people the Lord has put in front of me first to love.
Okay, this is exactly why this circle thing could be helpful, because I think we all have some loving people issues.
Yes.
I think it's very easy for some people to stay in the outer circle because those people don't really know you that well. So you can just stay there. And then the inner circle people, you might have some trouble, you know. But for you to mention that, if home's like a little bit hard, so you're like, let me stay out there? Or what if the friend section of your life is not that good, or there's just something, and then you're like, let me just retreat in here.
Yes.
And I think what putting some things down on paper and saying, right now, as I have prayerfully looked at this before the Lord, these seem to be the people that God has given me to love.
Yes.
And so you're saying, no matter what,
Yes.
no matter how I'm feeling about that, I need to be responsible for these people. Like he's saying, love is specific and it cannot expend our resources. We say, oh, Lord, I take responsibility for these neighbors. And although, of course, in the outer circle, there's some space for the Lord to bring someone into your life each day. Lord, Miss Becky prays every day, Lord, let me be open to whatever you have for me. Well, you have a circle open.
Yes.
An open
The
circle.
open person for me.
Yes.
Yes. But that's not where you live
No.
all day. You are taking care of the people you're supposed to take care of as the Lord lets he can move in you for that space.
You know, that inner circle, I wonder for most people, is that the hardest circle to love?
It absolutely is.
Yes.
That's what this whole thing is about, I think. And if we learned to love well there, we would be crazy powerful love people. Because that is the hardest.
Crazy powerful.
That would be the hardest place to love. I think that's exactly why he's encouraging us to do this. Because who is the hardest person to love? Well, of course it's Luke or the kids. Not that Luke's hard, but I'm hard to love. I mean, it's hard for us to stay in blissful love all the time. Of course. Thank you, Mandy. That is helpful, and thank you both for all these beautiful thoughts. Okay, I'm going to summarize what we have done, and then Mandy, will you just pray over all that we have shared? Okay, in summary, to live a life of love, you must receive it first from God. Our goal is to be filled up with love like a mountain lake fed by streams of mercy, good things in our lives that draw us to Him and renew us in His love. And from that place of fullness, streams of love easily flow out to those closest to us. God has given us love that will only come through us in a unique way to certain other people. And that creates an opportunity and a responsibility for us to act. In order to act wisely in love, we have to make judgments about who our neighbors are. Once we have identified those few key relationships, let's intentionally pour into them in serious and attentive ways, asking the Lord to continue filling us with the resources we need to live a life of love.
Lord, thank you for being a God of love, a God who has an abundance of love, and that you're not a God of scarcity. Lord, we ask for more of your love to fill each of us, each of these ladies listening to the podcast. And Lord, will you help us and direct us as we try to be wise about who to spend our time in love with and how to love others. Lord, will you bless us as we take in all of these words and we go out in lives of love. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.